podcast. Ginger is here with another episode of Fighting the Void, and we're getting to this live stream a little bit later than normal. We had a little bit of technical difficulties and getting everything arranged, but we are here. So if you've been waiting, thank you very much for your patience. And if you catch us later anyway, it doesn't matter. So ignore everything I just said, except for the welcome part. Now, with me today is actually, we've got Red back, filling in for my normal lovely co-host Crystal. And Red's been out traveling the byways of the country and everything. So if you hear any strange noises, she might have accidentally driven into the set of a Rob Zombie film, in which case we'll just have to cut our losses.
Are you referring to my kids?
As being possible cast members in a Rob Zombie film? No, never. Nope.
That'd be weird.
I would never do that. Now, just a little bit of background here, guys. Some of the getting this whole thing together was interesting because I was originally going to be out hunting this weekend. So Red was going to be filling in for me, but then my plans kind of fell through. Then Crystal was like, "Well, I got this other stuff that is going on." So then Red is going to fill in for Crystal, and it went round and round and round and round for a little bit there. But here we are.
What a mess.
We made it work, and just hopefully Red survives her travels, and everything will be just fine. So our subject for today is actually one that was prompted by some recent political events. Now, we don't normally do a lot of political hot take type coverage around here, mostly because there's already about 1 million people already doing that. But every now and then a topic does get prompted by whatever's going on out there in politics. And for those who don't know, everybody's favorite white Irishman, Beto O'Rourke, decided to make another Hail Mary pass to get some attention for his campaign for president when he started saying that we should get rid of tax-exempt status for any organization that doesn't do gay weddings or anything of that nature. So we're going to talk about religious liberty a little bit today. Red, we were discussing earlier that a lot of the religious liberty topic does revolve around the LGBT issues, but hardly exclusively either. Now, if I were to ask you, what would you say like the whole purpose of religious liberty actually is?
Being able to do and think what you want. It's basically the same as liberty. It's just you put religion in. You substitute religion.
I think that's fair to say. And there's a common misconception out there that the First Amendment, which is the part of our Constitution that actually articulates this right, was designed to protect the state from religion. That was the real point of the separation of church and state, was to keep religion from unduly influencing the state. Contrary to popular belief, it's actually the other way around. The founders put that in there so the state couldn't control your religion. So, Red, just like you said, it was a matter of saying the state isn't going to tell you what to believe.
Right.
Which gets into... But that's unfortunately, it's largely been turned on its head. And now it's like, no, we don't want religion to have any say in what goes on in government. To the point where you've got, again, we were talking again beforehand about how this is going on to where you've got people complaining about, a memorial on public land that happens to have a cross on it. Or every Christmas you hear something about a nativity display that somebody suddenly decides they don't want up.
I'm sorry, I hate to laugh, but this whole thing is just ridiculous. People need to stop being such pussies and just stop.
Well, you want to know how ridiculous it really is, Red? A few years ago, the ACLU was suing a town in, I think it was New Mexico. It was like Las Cruces, which is Spanish for the crosses, and they had like three crosses, like the hill on Calvary with Jesus and the two thieves on either side. That's part of their town seal. They were actually upset with them. They were actually suing them over that town seal to get it changed. Exactly, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Now,
well, that's absolutely something that they should waste their time on. I mean,
exactly. Exactly.
Horrible.
It's like, this is what you're worried about, people?
Yeah.
Or and a lot of this right now is just sort of setting the stage a little bit. Did you hear about that new ad from the Freedom from Religion Foundation?
Maybe, but I don't know it. I'm not sure, so you'll have to fill me in.
It was airing during the Democrat debates earlier in the week, and it was just essentially saying, it was a fundraising ad for the Freedom from Religion Foundation, which is basically dedicated to getting any sign of religion out of the public square whatsoever. And of course, the spokesperson in the ad was none other than Ron Reagan, which is the jerkier member of Ronald Reagan's sons.
Yay!
It finishes it off with Ron Reagan, unabashed atheist and not afraid of burning in hell. Okay. Now
that was actually aired. What you just said, like they aired that.
Exactly that. Word for word quote.
Nice.
And it was it aired multiple times during the Democrat debates. So clearly they knew who their audience is. Let's put it that way.
I mean, I'm all for him having the freedom to choose that. I mean, sure.
Well, yeah,
why not?
Obviously, yeah.
Knock yourself out.
Yeah, exactly. It's more the idea that freedom of religion is supposed to mean freedom from. It's like, no. So actually, let's dial it back a little bit. Kind of go back to the founding of the country. Much has been made of the idea that the original settlers and everything, the original pilgrims and all of that, they came here for religious liberty.
Right.
Sort of. They came here to do what they wanted to do. Yes. Did they come here to allow religious liberty for anyone else? Yeah, not so much. Let's be honest.
Well, that's how everybody is.
Your thing.
Just be honest. That's kind of how everyone is. Freedom for yourself, but not necessarily for other people. That's how majority of people are.
Yes, it does tend to break down along tribal lines very, very often. A lot of people. One of the fun facts that people don't know, for a long time, I forget the exact date, but for a long time in the colony of Massachusetts, it was perfectly legal to shoot a Catholic priest who happened to cross the border. That kind of thing goes back and forth. Now, on a similar subject, did you get a chance to see the link I sent you on the Maryland Act of Toleration?
No.
Dang it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've been busy lately.
That's okay. That's okay. You've been busy doing the things. Maryland was actually founded, as you might guess from the name, was actually founded by Catholics as this is going to be the Catholic colony for people who want to get the heck out of England, because they weren't terribly friendly to Catholics any more than they were friendly to the Puritans. And so it was originally, again, set up for the Catholics, but the founder, I forget his name off the top of my head, but he was actually big on, it's like, can we kind of leave a lot of these religious divisions and everything behind when it comes to actually living together in the new world? Don't change what you believe. Just, can we not fight each other over it? That'd be great. Was kind of his hope. and it kind of lasted in Maryland for a while. There was eventually the Act of Toleration that was passed in Maryland that said that said basically, if you believe in Jesus and you believe in the Trinity, you're cool here. Now, it also said that if you don't, you're not cool here, punishable by death. But still, that was like the first actual act of religious liberty that was passed in this country, if not the world, actually, as far as actual legislation goes. And unfortunately, the Puritans got control of it and basically got complete control of the legislature, repealed that legislation, and then suddenly in the Catholic colony, it was no longer cool to be Catholic.
Wow.
Yeah, go figure. But there were other acts that were passed in other colonies that allowed for a broader range, because again, it was typically highly tribal, where this colony was for kind of this particular branch of Christianity, this colony for the other particular branch of Christianity, so on and so forth. This is kind of how it first started out. But eventually, people in Pennsylvania and Rhode Island and a couple other places started allowing a little bit of leeway, and that it did eventually come together in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, where it was like, you know what, the government's not going to tell you what to believe, just like we were saying. So, like you were saying, Red, it was allowing people that liberty to decide, okay, I can believe this or not believe that, and if I change my mind, I'm totally free to do that. The government isn't going to step in one way or the other. It's the whole point of the First Amendment.
Right.
Now, I know you were looking at some of the cases and everything that have come about in more recent years. And I don't know, kind of, what's your opinion of kind of what you've seen in the news and those cases and everything, as far as where we're at?
As far as religion or like liberty as a whole? Because the actual
specifically religious liberty.
Just like, especially with churches, like you've seen it with the baker guy. He had to bake a cake. Like, he didn't bake a cake, and like everyone tried to destroy his business. I think that's kind of moved into the church too, where they need to have anybody in that specific community be able to head up a church, be a pastor of a church, be able to get married inside of the church. There are churches that have specific beliefs that go against that kind of lifestyle. It's not to discriminate. It's not to be cruel. It's their personal belief. They believe that it's a sin. Now, there's other churches that are a lot more welcoming, a lot more like, hey, we don't really think the Bible does teach this, so we're going to allow it. I don't necessarily believe that, but I'm all for a specific church saying this is what, we're a little more tolerant, we're a little more open. I'm all for that. Go to those churches. I don't think it's anybody's right to go into another church and say, we don't care what you believe, you're going to do whatever the fuck we want you to. I don't like that. And I don't think anyone should have to live like that. Yeah.
And I don't understand. And this goes back years as far as my thinking goes on it. It's like, if you're gay and you're a dude, you want to get married to a dude, you're a chick, you want to get married to a chick, you know what? I don't, from a legal perspective, I don't care. Go down to your local Episcopal church and have a ceremony, call yourself married. I don't care at all.
Right.
Now you want me to give a stamp of approval on that, or definitely if you want to try to force my church to sign off on it, no. And it's the forcing has taken various different forms along the way. Like one again goes back a few years, was actually in Massachusetts, oddly enough, again, where during the time when Mitt Romney was governor, and this was kind of in the early days. I think this is back in the late 90s, early aughts, when the big drive for everybody to to get on board with the LGBT agenda, LGBTQ, whatever, however many letters there are, get on board with that agenda, and they actually forced. I forget that it was a Catholic adoption agency, and they forced them basically to shut down because they wouldn't facilitate adoptions to homosexual couples.
I remember
and
that.
The state was like,
I'm
well,
pretty sure I remember that.
Okay, and they were like, basically, you do this or you shut down. They're like, I guess we shut down.
Wow. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I remember that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean it was big news at the time because I think it was the first time something like that had happened in this country, but it's happened elsewhere too. I think I can say with very high confidence that it happened in Illinois, and I think it might also have happened in New York, but I'm not positive on that one. But I'm pretty sure about Illinois, where the legislature just said, nope, you're gonna have to make a choice. Which, yeah, not a great choice. And go ahead. Nope. Did we lose you? Red?
I don't think so, but I am driving through a part where I don't think I have very good service.
Okay. For a second there, I was thinking my jokes about you wandering into a Rob Zombie film actually came true.
Stop it! It did not.
They're good. I'm glad. I don't want you having an encounter with the Firefly family, and
stop it! Freaking me out.
All right. But you were saying something when you cut out.
I was just saying I don't understand with the whole adoption thing. I don't understand why, if you are in a homosexual, relationship, there's got to be specific adoption agencies that would allow you to adopt. I'm sure there are. And if there are some other ones that wouldn't allow you to adopt, like, why do you have to go through those ones? Like, why can't you everyone just leave each other alone? Like, what the hell?
Right. Yeah. You'd think it would be fairly simple.
You can't force your beliefs onto other people. As long as you're not doing harm to anyone, it's no one's business.
Yeah. One would think so. That you get into a definition of what constitutes harm, but I think that it might even be a separate conversation altogether. And to be fair,
let's not go down that road.
Right. This, and to be fair, this goes. This can go kind of the other direction too. Like I was reading about a case from the Beckett law firm that it was about a death row inmate who he was a Buddhist, and he wanted to see a Buddhist whatever before he went to the chair, got injected, whatever it is they do in Texas, and they were denying him the right to do that, to have a Buddhist priest, I guess let's call him that, to come in and do whatever it is they do before he was going to go to his execution, and they were denying it, saying that he was a security risk.
What?
Yeah. The Texas the prison, the state basically was saying, no, you can't have your Buddhist priest come in. And
what do they think is going to happen?
Right. And the Beckett law firm, they won the case to where he was able to have him come in, and it was literally like a last minute thing. Like he was going to be executed, and all of a sudden some people came up and said, yeah, not quite yet. It's like you put your needles down for an hour or so. He's gonna have a chance, which is good. That's just as it should be.
Right.
It's religious freedom for all, or religious freedom for none. Really. Because as soon as So you can take whatever your preference is, and you can impose it. But as soon as somebody else gets power, you're gonna be the one on the chopping block. It's typically the way it goes. Especially, revenge is the hell of a drug.
Yes, for some, it absolutely is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Well, hell, you know something about that anyway. But that's again,
we're not doing that.
No. We don't need to go down that road either.
No, we're having fun.
Exactly. So, and again, the whole thing was designed to keep government the hell out of people's religion, and the whole thing where it's no law respecting establishment of or prohibiting the free exercise of religion. The whole respecting the establishment of the way that seems to tend to get read these days is that we're not going to respect an established religion. By which you mean we're not going to give it the time of day. We're not going to. Right. We're going to essentially treat them like a non-entity, as though they don't exist. Yeah, that's not what that means. That means we're lost her. Dag nabbit. I'll keep going on here a minute. What it was is the respecting establishment of a religion is we're not going to establish a religion. In modern language, think of it as we'll pass no law concerning the establishment of a religion. Which again, it just means the state isn't going to tell you what to believe. It's fairly simple. And especially, it's obviously clear that's what they meant in the context of the very next clause, which is, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Because the exercise of a religion has anyone who knows anything about actual religion, as anyone who knows anything about actual religion knows, and the free involves actually doing things outside of your church or synagogue or mosque or whatever. I was just talking about the actual wording of the First Amendment and what it actually means, as far as respecting the establishment just means the state's not going to establish a religion.
Right.
And
that was so scary.
Yeah. And respecting and the allowing for the free exercise thereof means you actually get to practice your religion outside the bounds of wherever it is you have your religious ceremonies. Because, Red, what does, if you were to define practicing, exercising your religion, what would that mean?
Like, if I was in school or I was in college and I wanted to pray or discuss my faith, I should be able to freely do that. If somebody doesn't like it, they don't have to listen to me. They don't have to look at me. They don't have to be friends with me. But I should be able to do that.
Absolutely. And
I should be able to bring a Bible anywhere that I want to, whether you like it or not.
Yes, you should. And
and I'm going to.
Stop short of actually thumping people with it.
Maybe a little.
Well, there are a lot of people that need a good Bible thumping.
Yes.
But usually frowned on to just randomly start, thumping people with a Bible on the subway.
All right, fine.
Usually.
Okay. Look, I agreed, okay? No Bible thumping anybody.
Okay, all right. No physically Bible thumping anybody. Okay, all right, good. Now, I forget exactly where I was. Oh yeah. But it means, it also means being able to go out and, serve the homeless, help place kids in adoption, basic standard works of charity, going into a prison and being able to minister to whoever it is that needs it there. Again, that applies for Buddhists and Muslims as much as it does for Christians or, Wiccans, I guess. They probably can't let you sacrifice a chicken in the prison. I'm guessing. But I don't know.
I guess for that too. If that's like your thing, okay. It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know how they would facilitate that. I guess you don't know till you try.
Bring me a chicken and a knife. I don't think they'd give them a knife.
Maybe they let them bring in Chick-fil-A.
It's Jesus chicken. We're not allowed to talk about that.
Well, I mean, right there's
Homophobic.
another prime example of how in an innocuous and completely innocuous comment is something that's grown into the status of legend amongst LGBTQ people. You know,
I mean, I think what a lot of that is there is a certain mentality that goes along with that lifestyle for a lot of people. I'm not saying everyone.
No, not everyone.
It almost seems like that's the only thing that they are to them, sadly. Like that's just, they're so caught up in their identity that that's all they see themselves as. And we're special. You're not. Like you're just not. You're not any more special than anybody else just because that's your lifestyle. Like I don't care, do what you want, but you're like everybody else. Sorry. Yeah,
it's interesting that just what you said there, how it tends for many, it seems to completely define who they are. That reminds me of I was listening to this is again years ago. I was listening to a talk by philosopher Peter Kraft, and he does a lot of talking to people from all walks of life and everything. And he was relating a conversation that he was having with a homosexual, talking about the morality and everything of it. And the guy was talking about I guess trying to reconcile being a homosexual and a Christian or something like that. And, Kraft was like, well, which one of those defines who you are? It is very much about that. It's like, which of these words has a bigger impact on who you actually are as a person?
I think you're dumb to answer either one of those. Like, why do you have to choose between the two? Like, all of these things are who I am.
From a legal perspective, that's one thing. But from again, this is a bit of a rabbit trail. But why would you use your sexuality, whatever it is, to say this is definitively who I am?
It's weird. Like I don't go around and say I'm a heterosexual.
Exactly. But that this has taken on a lot of the whole religious liberty thing. There's a lot of tentacles here. We were again, one of the things we were talking about offline was how years ago in Connecticut the legislature was floating the idea of being able to determine who gets to be on like a parish council, to make sure that the money is getting spent appropriately. Essentially, they wanted state-run financial oversight of individual parishes. And now, fortunately, that never made it out of committee because the bishop, the local bishop, got wind of it and basically organized a massive protest right on the Connecticut state capitol steps, like that, and it died. That legislation died a very swift death, fortunately. But I mean, how would like the local Presbyterian church stuff react to the state saying, we want Tim to sit in on your meetings? And it's like, who's Tim? Oh, you don't know Tim? He's a great guy. He's really concerned about, making sure that you guys are doing things the right way and everything. And he's just going to, send a little report to us. You know what that reminds me of, Red?
I don't know.
The Soviet Union. Yeah, which were basically Politburo spies, but not spies because it was totally open who they were and what they were doing, sent to make sure that everybody was towing the party line. Sean Connery killed him at the beginning of Hunt for Red October. It's awesome. But and again, we were talking about this surprised you when I told you about it in Houston. This is a couple of years ago. The lesbian mayor there was You ever heard that some pastor somewhere had talked bad about her or a policy or something like that, and suddenly she wanted the text of like all the ministers' sermons in the area.
It's like, she's so crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you doing? Who cares?
Well, again, it is. It's a crazy who cares sort of thing. Except, oh crap! It's the mayor demanding this.
So,
suddenly you've got like the head of the local government wanting to know what's being said about her from a church pew. It's like,
could you imagine though?
Uh-huh.
Could you imagine what kind of like psychosis you have to be like, what is the church saying about me? I mean, transcripts of all your sermons for all of time. Whatever you've said about me, I want to know it. Like, what are you doing?
Right. Now,
oh my God.
Now, where they're going to go with this is that the standard thing has been that you don't talk anything having to do with politics from the pulpit, is the way a lot of leftists would say. And honestly, even a lot of people that go to church on a fairly regular basis would probably agree with that premise, that that's not where you talk about politics at all. And as a rule, you don't spend a lot of time getting into politics, but it's taken so far as like you can't even have and express an opinion. You can't talk about anything at all, even what they're doing, even if like a policy runs directly contrary to the church teaching. You just have to pretend it isn't there.
No, like that's the spot. That's the place where you should be able to do it, right? Because these are people that are going in to essentially learn how to live out their faith in like the world that they're living now. So obviously you're going to want to go over some policies that are contrary to what your actual faith teaches. I think that pastors have an obligation to teach their congregation those things. Exactly. That is what they're supposed to be doing.
Yes, exactly. It is exactly what they're supposed to be doing. It's just there's so many that don't
have any balls.
Balls, yes. Thank you.
Balls.
You ain't got no freaking balls.
Exactly, balls. I can't help how I say that, all right?
Well, especially when you get worked up, is when your accent does come out.
Yeah, I get so mad.
Don't worry. I won't try to get you to say water.
Shut up. I'm not doing that. I will never do that on air ever again. No.
Yes, you will.
Probably.
You won't be able to resist. We'll get Juan on. Oh my gosh, I've got to get Juan on the show sometime.
No.
Yes. Yes, Juan, if you're out there. You're I'm not sure what we'll talk about. We'll figure something out. Don't worry.
Oh, yay. Yay. So then multiple people can make fun of my accent. Okay,
yes.
Anyway.
That would be the primary purpose.
Okay, cool. I love it.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, some of these, it is this idea, and it's got a lot of pastors and everything out there have been scared of like the IRS and stuff coming down on them for a long time. Which again brings us back to Robert Francis's original comments, and part of that there was something called the Johnson Amendment, which I forget the wording of it, but it was very vague anyway. But it was used a lot to say, basically, to churches, if you express any sort of political opinion, we're going to send the IRS down and audit you. Essentially, is how it's been used and interpreted. Oddly enough, I think there was one time that it was only been used to actually prosecute anybody exactly once. And if I remember correctly, there's actually somebody on the left.
Yeah, but that one time is too many, even though it's somebody that's on the left.
I completely agree. One time too many. But it's just funny that it's usually the right that's afraid of this thing actually being used against them when it never actually has been. And like I said, they're scared. They're browbeaten by like the likes of the ACLU, who will come in and say, "Get those crosses off your city seal," or take down that monument over there because tax dollars are paid to mow the lawn around it. I'm not kidding.
Well, I know, but like the funny thing about that is like some Christian tax money is going too, so I fucking wanted to stay there. So like,
Right.
leave it.
Well, right there, Red, you actually get right down to what is actually one of the more important aspects of this entire issue, which gets down to, okay, we all understand. Well, let's just say the federal government does what it's supposed to do and just stays out of it.
Right.
What about the local government? What about the municipality? Let's break it even down beyond the state level. Let's get down to like the local city government, and should they be able to say, yeah, we're totally putting a nativity scene up in front of the local courthouse during Christmas, or and do they have to, if there's 5 Wiccans in the town, do they have to put up a stone phallus as their winter solstice symbol or whatever? Whatever it is they do, I honestly don't know.
Honestly, I would say the government should just stay away from doing that kind of thing. To be fair, I kind of think they should, because obviously they're different faiths, and I think, I don't know, it's so tricky.
Exactly, and this gets down into,
it's complicated.
It is. It legitimately is, and this is, when you kind of drill down to this level, it is a stickier sort of thing, because you've got, on the one hand, I totally think a local government should be able to be like, you know what, do what you want. The local community should be able to decide on its own, essentially.
Right.
That we want this, we don't want that. I think, honestly, that should be. But, okay, let's take that same thing and apply it to pick anything else. Let's pick another hot button issue. Does that same mentality get to apply to gun control, for example? Does Podunk Town in the middle of Indiana, or let's do something more likely. Let's say a borough of New York just says, you know what? No guns at all, period. Total ban on any sort of firearm. That's a local community, presumably deciding what it wants to do. Now, it's clearly against the Second Amendment, but should they be allowed to do it because it's the local community? And that gets down to, again, how far down the chain of government is the Constitution supposed to apply? And it's been a topic of debate.
Totally made my head hurt.
I know, and it should, honestly, because I don't have this completely figured out myself. There's something out there called, I haven't read up on this, but there is something called the incorporation doctrine, which has basically taken the federal Constitution and interpreted that, or at least parts of it, not all of it, just parts of it, to apply kind of across the board. But some parts not so much. So yeah, it is genuinely a thorny thing, and I don't think I don't think the courts have probably been consistent on it as far as which interpretation of how the Constitution is supposed to apply, holds sway. Nor do I think, honestly, that I don't know if I'm 100% consistent on that.
I don't think anybody is really, no matter how much they want to say they are.
You're probably right. Now, as a general rule, I'm going to say, you know what? If Podunk Town in Indiana wants to say, yeah, sure enough, there's going to be an activity scene and a Christmas tree, and we're calling it a fucking Christmas tree, outside the state capitol, cool. I'm 100% okay with that. Now, if they want to say, no, you can't have, again, your whatever random solstice symbol, if they want to say you can't have that, that's where it's a little trickier. Because one, I would say if there's like a significant number of people in the town that want that, probably, yeah, give it to them. If there's like just two people in the town that are trolling, which is what happens a lot. I mean, that's what happens when the atheists are like, well, I want my satanic symbol up there.
I want a statue of Lucifer with children playing nearby it.
Exactly. Well, first of all, there is no satanic Christmas holiday, so piss off. You're just being dick.
You have to be fair.
Yeah. But well, like it is being fair. You're not celebrating a holiday.
Be quiet a second. Hold on. I was getting to something. You need to calm down. Like the thing about it is, what helped me understand it a little more was to look at it through that situation. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, well, imagine like being a Christian, and I mean, our country's kind of, whether people like it or not, was kind of built on Christian principles. It was. Right. I don't care. Don't argue with me. It just was. And all of a sudden, let's just say for some reason, it just went and flipped into another kind of religion that we might not necessarily agree with or adhere to. And all of a sudden, they started putting up all these pagan type of things that we don't agree with and we think are wrong. And it was the government that was doing it. Like, how would we feel? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think the government should be involved with putting any of that type of thing out. If people want to do it in their own community, like, that's fine. I think the government should stay out of it.
Now, you know, my point, but
anything. I don't know. That's how I think about it.
No, and that's consistent. However, when you get down to like the local municipality level, there's not a lot of difference between the government and the community. It's kind of this. It's almost
in that situation.
Yeah.
I mean, not really.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you want to, what's that?
I mean, not really. See, I don't think it is. A community is just like a bunch of people that think the same way and are concerned about the people that live there, and they want to do best for them. That's not necessarily how I look at the government, even at a local level. Nobody in a said community, to me, is trying to dictate how somebody else lives, whereas the government is kind of trying to do that.
Well, again, I would say
it's not the same.
I would say if again, take local podunk, small town, 500 people or less. You know,
you mean like
they're not telling any. If the government says, if they say, yeah, we're totally going to keep putting our Christmas tree up, they're not telling you how to live. They're just doing what they've always done because that is what their community primarily is.
Like,
did I lose you?
Not the whole community. You see, it's. Can you hear me?
Well, again, that's where the community does have to make those decisions, and actually, I think they should make those decisions as a community. What do we do here? You know, do we as a community choose to accommodate the religious display of these guys over here or not? And you know, and again, if it's, you know, you've got, you know, say this random town, this hypothetical town has a mosque in it. Well, do they put up something for Ramadan? Maybe. I don't think they do put up anything for Ramadan. This conflation of Ramadan as being the same as being Muslim Christmas is stupid for anyone who knows anything about either.
I don't even know what I'll be honest. I don't know what it is. Isn't it like fasting or something? I don't know. I'm so confused on what it is.
It's closer. It's closer to Muslim Lent.
Okay.
Closer.
That makes
nowhere
sense.
nowhere near the same thing, but closer to that.
Okay, that makes
a more. I know, but yes, there's fasting involved. It is a time when they're supposed to spend more time focusing on prayer and all of that. So it's much closer to Lent than it is to anything having to do with Christmas. It just happens to be that sometimes Ramadan, which is like a month long, by the way, sometimes it overlaps with Christmas a little bit. You know, it just like it happens to be that Hanukkah is close to Christmas, but it's
Right.
in no way, shape, or form remotely the same sort of thing.
Ramadan is now Muslim Christmas.
Right. What Hanukkah actually is they're celebrating the cleansing of the temple during the Maccabean revolt. Basically a bunch of Greek sympathizers and everything were ruling Israel at the time, and they were using the temple in Jerusalem for a whole bunch of pagan purposes and everything, and they were trying to basically get all of the still practicing Jews to stop being Jews. And
see, that's totally
there was a revolt led by and there was a revolt led by a family, the Maccabees, who basically wound up kicking these people out, cleansing and cleansing the temple. That's what Hanukkah is celebrating. It has nothing to do with anything remotely like Christmas at all. So again, it's kind of like, now I'm totally cool if the local community wants to also recognize Hanukkah. Great. Perfect. If the local community also wants to recognize the winter solstice, sure. Knock yourself out. Go for it.
What about the pastafarians, the ones that have the spaghetti monster?
You know what? If they, I like
pasta. That's what they want to do.
I like pasta. If they want to stand outside the courthouse and hand out bowls of noodles, fine.
No, I think they wear like strainers on their head.
They could do that too. Just don't serve.
I mean, I don't care.
Just don't serve me the pasta in one of the strainers that was just on their head. That's all I ask.
Oh, gross. I mean, I guess it makes sense within the community of them deciding what they want to do, but at a bigger, federal,
level. Let's go more macro with it. Let's go more macro.
Oh,
should the White House have a Christmas tree that they light up every year?
Oh no! I mean, here's where we might disagree and where you're gonna go all Catholic on me. But like, I don't view a Christmas tree as anything specifically aimed towards anything religious anyway, because it was more pagan than anything else. It's certainly
in its origins, it may well have been the use of the tree.
Wait, what?
There is evidence to suggest that such trees were used in pagan worship at some point, but regardless of that,
it should make everyone happy. Then
the association is obviously with Christmas.
I'm just saying it should make everyone happy. It was used as pagan worship too, so like the pagans should be happy. And I don't know, it's a tree and it has lights and it's very pretty. Like, I don't see what the big deal is.
It is very pretty.
It should be fine. And it's very pretty. It's not like they're holding up a Bible and they're doing
right. Whatever. And see, and right there, I would say it's perfectly fine for them to have the Christmas tree, because they're not saying they're not granting a special favor to any.
It's not a worship thing though either. No one worships a Christmas. Well, maybe.
And you're absolutely right. No one worships the tree, except maybe the pagans. So if anything, we should take it down because
it's not a cow statue.
Right. And this is it's not granting a special favor to any particular religion whatsoever. It's not giving anybody a special place in the law. It's not saying it's not. I mean, I can see the argument that would say, well, you're privileging them because you're giving that the public forum, the public display. It's a tacit endorsement.
I don't see that at all. I just see it as a tree, and I think those people.
Well, I'm just saying I can see the argument.
Yeah,
I can see it. However, you of course have heard the phrase "the wall of separation of church and state." Hello?
It's a tree though.
No. I'm going down a slightly different trail here.
Oh God. Okay.
You've heard the phrase.
Yes, of course.
Does it exist in the Constitution?
No.
No. Do you know where the phrase actually comes from?
Liberals. No, I don't know.
It does come from Thomas Jefferson. It was in his letter to the Danbury Baptists, and they had written a letter to him basically saying, "Hey, please pass a bunch of laws that will build the kingdom of God on earth." Essentially, is what they were asking for, and of course, obviously, they mean what they mean by that, whatever it is they meant by that, they specifically. And Thomas Jefferson responded, hey, thanks a lot for your prayers and everything. That's super cool. But, you might know that, we have the First Amendment and we, want to maintain a wall of separation between the church and state. So, thanks again for the prayers. Peace out. Now, that typically gets taken to mean that Jefferson wanted no association whatsoever between the church and religion. A literal massive wall. Like, never shall the twain meet in any way, shape, or form. What those people don't realize, Thomas Jefferson himself was leading Christian church services in the Capitol building from time to time. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, actual fact. So it's like, again, it's one. It would be fair to say that can be interpreted in the light of, frankly, applying only to Christian religions. It's probably what the founders would likely have intended. But even let's just say they intended it to apply in a broader sense, the way that we would apply it today. It still was clearly, they understood that, as you pointed out, the country is fundamentally Christian at its roots. Again, not explicitly actually in any of its documents, but every single principle that the country was founded on came out of Christianity. But again, I would say that it should be applied in a broader context to, again, where everybody should essentially have the same rights before the law, which I don't think anyone particularly disagrees with.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, that's probably true. Much to my dismay, I would probably be extremely surprised. But yeah, it gets. There's a lot of tangles to these things, and yet when you drill down, it does admittedly get a little sticky. And I think in certain cases there are good arguments on both sides of things. Now, at the same time, I'm definitely not in favor of forcing any particular religion to do something that is explicitly against their teachings, which seems to be the way that Beto and people like him want to go.
All right, because I think what it is it's almost like because they've made that entirely who they are as people. And that's their identity. It's everything that they are. They are nothing else in their mind. So when somebody says, I don't agree with that, it's become in their mind a personal attack. And
you're erasing me.
Yeah. They think that because you don't agree with their lifestyle, that means you hate them. They don't understand how you can do both, how you can still love that person, but still disagree with their lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can do both of them. They are not, exclusive or mutually exclusive.
Right. And again, I mean, that just gets into where the biggest conflict it happens to be right now when it comes to the LGBT issues. Like, again, the religious liberty thing has got many, that octopus has got a lot more arms. Mm-hmm. Again, you've got one of the big ones was passing Obamacare. Are they going to force religious, institutions to pay for abortions, or for those institutions that disagree with certain forms of contraceptives, are they going to force them to pay for those? The answer is yes, they're going to try. And they have. The most famous case was actually the Little Sisters of the Poor. It was a small religious order that said, no, we're not going to pay for contraception in our insurance. It's just not going to happen. Nor are we going to refer you to one. Nor are we going to give money to a third party who will then fund the contraception. It's like, no, we're not doing it. And the Obama administration actually sued them, sued a bunch of little nuns.
Wow.
Yeah. And took them all the way to court, and they eventually won their case. But they either won the case or was eventually dismissed by the Trump Justice Department. I forget which, but somebody else just sued them again. So now they've got to go through this all again.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How entitled has society become that we just think that if we want something, somebody else has the right to force somebody else to pay for it, even though it goes against their beliefs? Like, what? I don't understand. I just fail to understand it.
Yep. It's unfortunate that it's very unfortunate that we've gone this far down this. We slid so far down the slope, essentially, and that's exactly what it is. We have slid down the slope that a lot of people were predicting 10, even 20 years ago. It's like, this what's going to happen. No, you're crazy. You're crazy. That's never going to happen. We're never going to be talking about forcing people to do gay weddings, or force people to pay for abortions, or force these guys to take down this monument. And nobody's talking about that. We're like, yeah, no one's talking about it now, but it's going to happen. And here we are. Just like 5 years ago, nobody was thinking that we'd be arguing over who gets to use which bathroom. Nobody thought that was going to be a thing. Only the craziest people on the right would have been like that.
Right.
But here we are.
Well, I have a theory about what's going on. Did you see that movie? What is it called? It had Jim Carrey in it, and the Truman Show.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever see that movie?
Yes. It's actually one of the few Jim Carrey movies I actually like.
Yeah, it's almost like we're living that out, but instead, it's almost like, did you ever see Candid Camera?
Oh, yes.
Do you remember that? It's like the world is one long, horrendous episode of Candid Camera where nothing is actually real, and this is all just fake and pretend. Like, I had a conversation with somebody the other day on Twitter, and a fetus isn't a human. Like, a fetus is still, it's not a baby, it's not real, but the same person, well, women can have dicks too. And it's just like, what the fuck is going on?
Like, yeah, you're just waiting for the old bald guy to jump out of the bushes and surprise, you're on Candid Camera.
Or like that punked,
just a horrible nightmare.
Or like that punked with Ashton Kutcher. Just pop out like, you've been punked. You got me. Like something.
Yeah.
At some point, someone to say, hey, this is all a joke. People aren't really insane. And like I had this conversation with my mother. What was it, a week or 2 weeks ago? Last time I was up there, and I said, did you ever feel like you're seeing, and everyone that you're arguing with that is thinking a lot differently than you, and they're just talking so crazy, at least they're talking crazy in your mind, and then you stop and think, you're like, wait a minute, oh my God, am I the crazy one? It's like, maybe it's me. It's like, maybe women do have penises.
and then you say it out loud, and you're like, nope, that's the crazy one over there.
It's not me.
Yep. Oh no, I was having a very similar conversation with my wife the other night, and I was like, yeah, every now and then I do. I was like, I asked myself, I was like, wait a minute, am I the nut bar?
Am I crazy?
But
oh my God, it's me.
the way I figure, if you're asking yourself that, there's a good chance you're not.
Yeah, crazy people never say it's the same with like narcissism and stuff like that. Like
Right.
a narcissist would never say, "Am I the narcissist?" Like they would never do that. Just like a
Right.
crazy person.
Right.
Crazy people don't say, "Am I crazy?" They just get a lot of aluminum foil and they like barricade themselves in their room.
It's true. True.
Yeah.
True. Very, very, very accurate, I would say. But yeah, I just kind of wondering, as we're, we're kind of like Jim Carrey tossing about on the ocean, on the fake ocean, hoping that we're going to find an exit door and then pop into the real world. But and meanwhile, Ed Harris, who I don't know is really Jeff Zucker over at CNN, I don't know. I was like, more waves, more wind, lightning. We got it. Keep them from getting out. But yeah, I don't know. There's a real world out there, but by golly, if it's not hard to find, if it isn't hard to find it.
I don't know. People keep talking about like aliens being real and stuff, and I can't see if there was any life form outside of us that was more intelligent and further advanced. I really don't think they'd be stopping here. We don't, like you said before, we don't even know what bathroom we're supposed to be using.
Exactly. We don't even know who. You don't even know who's got a pee-pee or not.
Right, and aliens are supposedly abducting us. What for? Like what?
Maybe they're
us?
confused by the whole transgender thing. Maybe they're trying to figure it out.
Maybe that's why they put stuff in butts.
That's why they're doing the probing.
Different holes.
That's why. That's totally.
Have you noticed our conversations kind of get really weird when it's late?
Yes. Our conversations suddenly start to go really downhill when you hit that hour mark.
Alien probes. What?
Like, from Thomas Jefferson's letter to the Danbury Baptist to anal probing. All in one episode, everybody. You've got it all here on Fighting the Void.
Yeah, and someone's going to be listening. I thought this was about religious liberty. What does it have to do with anal probes? What is happening?
Well, does religious liberty apply to aliens?
Oh, we have to do that one another time.
It's a topic for another time. Yes, absolutely. Actually, who knows? Aliens could themselves be an interesting topic sometime, just cause.
That'd be fun. I'm sure we'd have to make sure that like Crystal's on it too. Crystal likes that weird stuff too.
Oh, absolutely. And I just want the crazies to do something a little more interesting than show up and have at Area 51 and have a music festival. I was thoroughly disappointed. I was looking forward to some action, and it's just like, no, I'm sorry. This country deserves a better class of crazy.
I mean, I'm trying, but my finances are very limited.
No. You don't need to go to Area 51 and stage a revolt. That would be bad. Then we probably would have to write your obituary, and it would say strange things, and just no.
Oh yeah, I forgot. We said that stuff off the air. Let's not repeat that situation.
No. We won't repeat any of that off the air. Let's just say, out of context, it might be disturbing.
All right. I'm so glad I'm almost home because I have to pee.
I was gonna say. Speaking of just saying random weird things.
Yeah.
So, Internet, now that you know that Red has to pee soon, I think it's about time to wrap this one up.
Yeah.
And thanks for tuning in. And especially if you stuck it out all the way out to the end, thanks for paying attention to our wild and crazy rambling. And I hope you were able to make the connection between Ed Harris and the First Amendment. So, again, next time on Fighting the Void, I'm not sure what we're going to have exactly, but I know Jacob Airy is on deck for October 30th, and we're going to be discussing the Joker movie and probably some other stuff too.
Oh, so,
nice. Thanks, Red, for coming on and filling in for Crystal. And again, thank you everybody for tuning in, especially being patient with us. And until next time, keep fighting the good fight.